Welcome to the Navigating Your Life show. I'm your host, Nat Williams. It is a pleasure to be with you again this evening. All of our shows will venture to present information and solutions to the challenges of everyday life, always focusing on an encouragement, enlightenment, and empowerment. Tonight we're going to spend some time discussing blended families. Blended families are defined as two family units that combine into one. Sometimes the previous unit consisted of only one person or is as large as a group. We are joined today by two different types of blended families. With me in the studio today is Terry Large and Kathy Caratola. Terry's family has one of the adults who already had children and the other adult without any children prior to the blending. And then we have Kathy's family. Both adults have children and are thinking about possibly blending in the future. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We had the opportunity to meet with Terry's family the other day to talk about their experiences as a blended family. Let's see what they had to say. Thank you for agreeing to sit down and talk with us today about blended families. First, why don't we start with Terry and Bob. How long have you been together as a couple?
A little more than a year now.
And Bob, how has that gone from your standpoint? Because I understand that you joined Terry's family that already had Tiffany and John. So how did that go for you?
I think it went very well. Not having kids to having kids, it gets trying sometimes. I'm not used to it, but sure, I deal with it.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
Well, I think what worked well for us is from the gate, we involved the children.
Mm-hmm.
And two, we took it very slow. We knew one another as friends many years ago and never thought of dating. And when we got together, I actually had spoke to John and I said, you remember Bob? And, we had that conversation and that he's going to start spending some time with us. And when we started the relationship, it was all about family because that's part of what I value tremendously is family.
Tiffany needed to take a break, but we'll continue to keep talking. Do you see for yourself that now you have a person that can be in your life in a meaningful kind of way going into the future as well? Do you see what you potentially have gotten from this arrangement as well?
John has, in the past, when I've tried to develop relationships, challenged it all the time. And I took it a little bit different through this relationship, like I said. We were fortunate enough to know one another, and the children knew Bob through friends in the past, and so that in itself, I think, helped with it.
So Tiffany has joined us again, so come on in, have a seat, Tiff.
Hi, Tiff.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's been a very good experience in my life, and I'm happy to be here. Very happy to be here.
I'm happy for you. All right.
Good girl.
Again, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Well, it's obvious from watching that piece that the decision to blend families presents both successes and some challenges. As a reference, according to the American Blended Family Association, approximately 2,100 new blended families are formed every day in the United States. I'm so glad, ladies, you were able to join me today in the studio. So, Terry, I know that family and family values is important to you. As you blended your family, how were those two things brought together in a way that worked for you?
Well, when we decided to come together, make a commitment, we had to review what our upbringing was like and what we valued from that lifestyle and how it would work within what it was that we were looking for. And fortunately for us, much of what our experiences were from the past were what we valued together as a unit. So that was very easy coming.
Good. And so something that was important to you, you didn't have to sacrifice in building this other relationship. It was something that was supportive of something that was important to you.
That's correct.
Okay. And Kathy, as you look at some of your friends, blended families, how prevalent is this in the community in which you live in?
I think there's a lot of it, and I have friends that also are in the process or thinking about it also. I've seen it, I guess, over the last 5 years, more prevalent than I ever have.
Wow. Terry, what would you say has been your greatest challenge so far in blending your family?
I was probably part of the challenge in the resistance phase. It's been such a long time since I was in a relationship. It was challenging for me to lean. In that, I mean, I was so used to being independent and working hard at making things work within our family of three, myself and the two children, and juggling all those tasks and responsibilities independently.
Wow.
That-
So for you, letting go of that existence that you had for quite a number of years was part of the challenge as well.
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. And Kathy, what do you see as the greatest challenge as you look at what's potential on the horizon?
I think I look at the greatest challenge is bringing the children together and blending the lifestyles and the differences. I think that's going to be the hardest challenge.
But Terry, a lot of times we talk about the challenges as it relates to things, but there have been some successes that have come from your blending. What have been some of those that have really made a difference in the life of yourself as well as your children?
I guess the exchange of the roles, learning about one's strengths and weaknesses, and being able to, as I said before, lean on one another has been a great asset. My life is no longer as stressful, as painful, as challenging, just because I have more support system in place.
Wow. So you're healthier in lots of different ways.
I absolutely believe so. Talk about emotion and strength and just the balance of the life, the quality of life, the happiness. A lot of things have
Wow.
happened as a result.
That's wonderful. And Kathy, what do you see as something that would be rewarding if you were to blend your families? What would be a positive thing that you think would be an outcome of coming together?
Well, I think seeing the children in a happy family, I think both sets of children have been through a lot of hardship and pain, and seen both parents very angry and stressed out. And I think bringing it together will lessen that, and will just give the kids, both sets of kids, you know, a happier life and a not stress-free. I guess life is never stress-free, but you know, just a happier home life.
Wow. As a wife, there's a responsibility and a role that you have with Bobby, and then as a mother, you have a role with respect to your children. The balance of those two sometimes may be at odds, because you know the children may have certain things that they'd like to see you do. Bobby may have certain things that he'd like to see you do, and you have these, for lack of a better term, different allegiances. And balancing that, the role of a wife and a mother, is a real challenge. And want to hear your thoughts about whether or not how you've not well. I want to hear your thoughts about how you've been able to pull that all together, the two different roles that you have.
Actually, in making the commitment of coming together, those roles have blended easy. I've been able to distinguish my role as the mother and the disciplinarian, keeping that role.
And I think what was nice in the footage we saw earlier is that Bobby has been able to come to his own comfortability in the role of being a disciplinarian. It wasn't something that he came in at the front door with, but that's part of that balancing and that blending that I think he's been able to provide you some more support there. So I think that so often when you have blended families, the natural children and the natural parent see that discipline and guidance comes from them solely. But I think it was wonderful to see that that's something that you've been able to partnership with Bobby on.
All of it hasn't been easy.
Sure.
So I don't want to sugarcoat it, but
Sure.
over time, we've been able to develop periods that we could spend intimate time alone, doing things, going to the movies, going out for dinner, as the role of the wife, and as the parent, sharing that role. My son works, and it's sometimes difficult for me to be in two places at one time, so the additive of another person to your family unit has been just wonderful.
Sure. Another chauffeur is a good thing to have.
That is true.
And Kathy, is there anything you would want to share with our viewers as something that you're considering as you look at blended families? Any thoughts that you want to share?
Well, in the question you had just asked Terry, I think one of the main thing is part of the values things, what these people come in with. And I think with myself and Nick, our kids are our most important. So the parenting is number one on our list, and then our relationship, you know, comes next. And I think finding a balance, like Terry said, getting to go out. But if the kids need something, maybe you can't go out tonight, is what we've found. And I think you have to find that person that has that same value as you, where parenting is, you know, number one on their list.
Wow. All right, Terry and Kathy, thank you so much for joining us today. And in recognition of your efforts, we were able to work with Split Rock Resort and Golf Club to provide you a weekend getaway for your entire family. And so we hope you were able to use that and enjoy that. And as you're blending your families together, having a little fun, we hope would be part of the festivities as well. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Sure. We will take a brief commercial break, but when we return, we'll meet a gentleman who has a different kind of blended family. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to experience personal success in all 8 domains of life? Then join Dr. Nat Williams for the Absolutes of Success Weekend Transformation Program at Tucson, Arizona, and achieve your greatest potential. Registration includes a 2-night stay with meals at the beautiful Westward Look Resort. Register today, only $6.99, or register with a friend and pay only $9.99 with shared room. Call 1-800-810-3683 or visit absolutesofsuccess.com.
This week's adoption highlights Yvonne. Yvonne enjoys arts and crafts activities, and she loves to write stories and draw. She would like to teach art when she grows up. Yvonne also loves going to church and attending Sunday school. This 9-year-old is intelligent, friendly, and charming. She is a leader in the classroom. She works hard and is proud of her academic achievements. Yvonne would benefit greatly from having a patient, loving, permanent family that would provide the structure, emotional support, consistency, and affection that she needs and deserves. For adoption information, access the National Adoption Center's website at adopt.org. For further information on Yvonne, you can also email callen@adopt.org.
Enrich your life at Sacred Heart Villa, situated atop Mount St. Michael on 40-plus scenic acres. Our caring staff includes missionary sisters and on-site licensed nurses 24/7. We offer medical reminders as well as dispensing medication and transportation to medical appointments. With excellent food, fun events, a spacious hall, safe rooms, and much more, your life will be enriched. Call 610-929-5751 or go to sacredheartvilla-readingpa.org.
Welcome back to the Navigating Your Life show. I'd like to welcome my next guest, Dr. Michael Rosen, author of What Else But Home, 7 Boys in an American Journey Between the Projects and the Penthouse.
Good morning.
Welcome. Glad you could make it. So tell us what your book is about.
Oh, it's an American story. My wife and I walked onto a baseball field in the summer of 1998 when our 7-year-old, who's now like way up here,
Wow.
walked us on, and it was a blacktop baseball field. And we're white, our sons are white, and he was the only white kid in the game. And when the game ended, he invited his new friends, his new best friends home, and 10 or a dozen kids came. And over time, 5 of those boys ended up moving into our home, also becoming our sons, becoming our family. And so the first line of the book is, afterwards, they all went to college, and that's the story.
Wow. So tell us what happened between, some of the stories that happened between that baseball field and going off to college.
Oh, a lot. At one point, we decided that pretty early on that we weren't going out to restaurants anymore, my wife and I, and with our sons. So we piled 12 of us into 3 New York City cabs and took a trip down to Chinatown, which is nearby. And we had adventures there, like one of the kids yelling across the whole restaurant, yo, because he wanted another Coca-Cola, and the whole place quieting down.
Wow.
And then when the kids went out to play, some people sort of leaned over and said, "Are you with Fresh Air?" or something like that. We decided at one point the kids weren't reading. Our kids weren't reading, so we went into a bookstore with everyone and bought books for everybody.
Wow.
And instituted a half hour of reading. And then we all traveled around across the country together at one point.
And tell us what that was like. I remember talking with you about that, and that was rather interesting.
Yes. Well, it was an adventure. We thought that, you know, our sons, who are Black, Dominican, Puerto Rican, call where they came from the ghetto. And so I thought, well, that's a delimited map. Therefore, if we sat in a car or a van and we drove across the country and they saw a bigger map, they'd want to come back reading Kant and Kierkegaard. And it didn't happen that way, but 7 of us, 2 of the guys had to stay. One was playing baseball and one was working. We drove from New York City down through Miami Beach to Key West to New Orleans, and then back up through the South.
Wow. And what were some of the things, as those children, young men, saw the world and saw at least the country a little differently? What were some of the things that they shared with you?
Well, they loved Miami Beach.
I'm sure.
It turns out that like 3/4 of the clothes they brought were to dress up in Miami Beach.
Wow.
And they loved New Orleans. This was a year before Katrina.
Wow.
We ended up in Birmingham, and we went to the Civil Rights Museum. And in the Civil Rights Museum, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth is the hero of the place in a way, and really the leader of the Birmingham civil rights effort. And he had moved away decades ago, and he was sitting in a restaurant when we went across town, and a friend of ours knew him, so everybody got to meet Reverend Shuttlesworth.
Wow.
We went to Philadelphia, Mississippi, Freedom Summer, where the 3 young men, Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerner, were murdered.
Wow.
And that really led us to be able to talk among ourselves of what civil rights are, why people have rights, how humans should be treated in our country.
Wow. And in your blending of your family, you basically adopted a series of children from lots of different backgrounds.
Yes. Yes.
And so when you look at that as an effort that your wife and you embarked upon, do you have any regrets about the path that you chose, of how you decided to grow your family? Would you do anything differently, or would you keep things all the same?
I would definitely, with our boys, who are now young men, when they started really moving in, they were already older. We met them when they were 11 and 12. They started moving into our house when crises arose in their lives, and that was when they were 16 or 17. If I could do it all again, I would try to bring them into our house a lot earlier.
Really?
A lot earlier.
And why do you say that?
By the time they moved in with us, so much of really the oppression, and I'd like to find a nicer word, but I think that's really what it is, so much of the oppression of underclass ghetto life in America had really touched them in ways that's really hard to untouch. And they say it. They say it among themselves.
Wow. And so what do you think you could have done other than have more time? What would you have been doing if you had access to them at an earlier age to try to help them to grow into...
Focus on reading, focus on reading more, and then reading more after that.
Now it sounds like you're speaking as an author, that reading...
Well, not in terms of me selling books, but in terms of their really having a curiosity of the world. That curiosity just isn't there in a way. The expectations aren't there. And that's something I've never been able to figure a way out of. You know, I want them to want more.
Wow. And so as these young men have now grown into adults and they're off to college and doing other things, how are they all faring with the limited amount of time they were exposed to you?
Sure.
But I'm sure it made a real difference in their lives.
Sure. None of them are dead, which is a blessing, because 2 of their dads were murdered in front of them. One of their dads died of prison and drugs. They're not in prison. Some of their brothers are. They've not hurt anyone. In fact, all 5 are really in college, so that's pretty miraculous.
Wow.
And our oldest son, Ripton, is also in college, so we have 6 now. They're, thank goodness, doing quite well.
Wow. Wow. And one of the things that you and I had a chance to talk about previously was that they all came from different cultures.
Yes.
And you're of the Jewish culture.
Yes.
So how did that melding all come together?
We're really are a rainbow. We've never tried, we would never try to change anything. So we're Jews. We celebrate the Jewish holidays. We would celebrate Christmas with the guys because that's important to them. People speak English and Spanish in our house. The only thing we tried to really change is the use of some words, which I don't particularly like. You know, some gender-based words and sexual preference words I wish they used less.
Wow. Wow.
But I think what we've really tried to achieve is a celebration of all of our humanity together. Wow. That if I love you and you love me, my beliefs can't be any more or less right than yours.
Wow. That's a wonderful thing to share. And if you wanted to give some advice to some of our viewers who are thinking about extending their home and their family life to some others and blending others in, what would you give them as some advice to consider?
Oh, that love is intimate. It needs to be intimate. You need to look in someone's eyes, whether it's for an hour a week or 4 hours a day if someone's living inside your house. That even a little bit of reaching out to someone, a younger person, can make an endless change in them, because it can. The biggest issue, I think, is that commitment needs to really be a commitment. Even if it's for an hour a week, that kid needs you there.
Wow.
Needs to be able to expect you there.
Wow. And that you need to be someone that they can count on.
That's what I mean.
Sure.
You said it better than me.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's good. Anything else you'd like to share with our viewers?
Oh my. The love that you get back is equal to the love you make. That's a Beatles song, isn't it? I didn't intend that, but it's true.
It's a little plagiarism there, but that's okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Michael, I understand you brought a picture of your family. Could you tell
did.
us? Could you tell us who's here?
Sure. From left to right, that's William, and he's Dominican background. Kindu, who's African American. My wife Leslie, our son Juan Carlos, who's black and Puerto Rican. Me, Felipe, who's Dominican, and our son Morgan and Ripton, both of whom were adopted, and Carlos, who's Puerto Rican. And I don't know if you see the little dog in the bottom, but he's a boy also. So it's 8 boys and my wife, and that's New York City in the back.
Wow. And I think it's so ironic with all these boys that your wife's profession is?
A gynecologist.
She doesn't have to work at home with that group there.
No, but she spends her days with women and her nights with men.
Wowee. Well, Michael, you and your wife, I think, have done an outstanding job of making a difference in these kids' lives. And I think what's important is you recognize it's not going to be easy, that you know that they come with some for lack of a better term, some challenges and some baggage, but you've embraced them, whether it's the baseball part of them or the part that they're struggling with some issues related to the death of their parents. You've taken them for who they are, and I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
That's the way you need to be with kids.
Wow. Well, I think with everybody.
With everybody.
That's very true.
Yes.
So I thank you for all you've done, and I know all the stuff you will continue to do.
Oh,
I know it's
thank you.
made a big difference.
Thank you, and you as well.
Thank you. And in recognition of your efforts, we reached out to our partners at Split Rock, a resort and golf club, and they provided you and your very large family with a weekend getaway.
Oh,
that
really?
I know it'll be difficult to pull it all together, but whenever you can pull it together, they would love to have
That's magical. Thank you.
There you go. And
Thank
so thank you very much for all you do. We'll be right back after this break.
Are you ready to experience personal success in all 8 domains of life? Then join Dr. Nat Williams for the Absolutes of Success Weekend Transformation Program at Tucson, Arizona, and achieve your greatest potential. Registration includes a 2-night stay with meals at the beautiful Westward Look Resort. Register today, only $6.99, or register with a friend and pay only $9.99 with shared room. Call 1-800-810-3683 or visit absolutesofsuccess.com.
This week, we're highlighting Tatiana Tully. She's a bilingual professional with experience and skills in the following areas: project management, metric reporting, relationship building, negotiation skills, strategic planning, and community organizer.
The Banana Factory is Lehigh Valley's premier community cultural arts center, promoting and sharing visual arts with everyone. This outreach educational center features a clay studio where students learn the art of ceramics with some of the region's most renowned artists. The Lehigh Valley's only hot glass studio promoting the art of glass blowing and the glass-making process. The Olympus Digital Imaging Center, where students learn the art of digital photography and much more. Come experience the world of art at the Banana Factory. Call 610-332-1300.
Clearly, the idea of family is not limited by the constraints of biology. Love can be the cement that joins us together as a family. Blending families presents great challenges but also offers great rewards. A list of resources related to today's episode is available on our website, navigatingyourlifeshow.com. While you are there, you can also email your comments on today's show, share ideas on future shows, or even submit questions related to the topic of today or an upcoming show. Thank you for spending time with us this evening. We know you have choices, and we appreciate that you have chosen to be with us this evening. Looking forward to having you join us again next week when we'll be discussing ways to beat stress. I wish you the very best.